Mr. Kasparov, thank you very much. Let's start on a serious note, given the times we are living. It appears that the Russian narrative is more present in the Western country, including Romania. Do you think that Russia has won the informational war?
The war is not over, so that's why you cannot say Russia won. I hope that Putin will never win this war, but they're definitely making advances, and it's not surprising because the free world was very slow to recognize this threat, and the response was far from being adequate. There are definitely some successes, but I hope that now we are at the turning point where Europe would be far more serious in responding, and will start acting as it had to a long time ago.
If you can, I don't know, take a measure, what would you think that the world leaders should do first?
Before you decide on your response, you have to identify your goals, and you have to, analyze the situation and be objective. Europe is still not ready to say that we're at war with Russia, with Putin's Russia. It's not war, on the battlefield as in Ukraine, though Ukraine is a part of Europe, and you may consider it's an attack on Europe. But it's a combined war that has hybrid elements. And Putin's goal, as he declared, was just to undermine our values and to advance Russian imperial agenda. Pretending that we still can do this, can oppose him without recognizing this fact, it's always, just makes all your efforts, I would say, insincere. By recognizing that, you can start acting as a belligerent. There are many ways that that Putin's efforts can be countered and eventually repulsed. You can do more, in eliminating pro-Russian influence in European countries, so from Baltic states and Romania all the way to west to Great Britain. But the most effective means are always connected to the direct confrontation. You can help Ukraine, or just step up with helping Ukraine with weapons that could be far more effective. But also you have to start cutting Putin's funding. Money is still it's the blood of war. And instead of 16 packages of sanctions, you can simply cut Russia's oil trade. 60% of Russian oil trade goes through the north with shadow fleet. It's all European waters. You can find many reasons to stop it. It's a shadow fleet. It's not state registered. It environmentally, it just doesn't meet the standards. Stop it, or just put very high tax on passing the Danish channels. Again, if you want to win the war, you find a way. Also, you can go just secondary sanctions against companies that are doing business in Russia, because if you look at the Russian import today, critical import, it hasn't stopped, because even business from the countries that are most pro-Ukrainian, like Estonia or Finland or Poland, they're still doing business via third countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. You can look at the dramatic rise of exports from Germany, for instance, to Kyrgyzstan. It's 10 times higher, because basically compensating. That's what they did in Russia. Russia still depends financially and technologically on the Western supply. And while the supply it's not of the same volume, but it's still there. Ukrainians demonstrate many times that 70 to 80% of components of Russian missiles and drones made in the West, mostly American. So that tells you that Europe is trying to find a middle ground. You don't win the war by making compromises. Also, you don't win the war by looking for consensus. I think it's a shame that Hungary is still, a full member of European Union, voting rights. It was even 6 months had the presidency, and receiving subsidies. Orban is Trojan horse. Now we found more that he was conspiring with Putin just to attack Ukraine from the west. So after Putin believed he would succeed in the east and in the center. And again, it's Europe is still pretending that we have to play by the rules. I respect the rules, but the rules made in the peacetime. And the war requires changes of these rules. So we are probably getting closer to the moment, but there are many words, and still the actions are not meeting the words. I wrote an article a few days ago in Die Welt, it's encouraging Chancellor Merz to, just the day he was elected, to push forward. And I praised in my Twitter, I praised his speech, first speech, that was strong, contained many strong words, but then I said, one Taurus missile is worth 1,000 words. So Europe has money, has potential, has technology, so to help Ukraine, even without America. I mean, of course, American support is crucial now, but the fact is that after more than 3 years of this war, Europe gave less to Ukraine than North Korea gave to Russia. I mean, to tell you that Europe was not acting with a serious intention to win the war.
Many leaders in Russia insist that the war will not go beyond Ukraine. Do you believe that Russia will stop in the worst case scenario for Europe, stop at Ukraine, or?
I don't have to believe in anything. I just have to listen to what Putin is saying. Ukraine is one stop, and we don't have to debate things that have been declared and repeated many times. The main goal of this assault on Ukraine to destroy Ukrainian statehood, which is very important. Ukraine doesn't exist in Putin's world map. And please just don't tell me that maybe he's making it for domestic consumption. That's a plan. And somebody who has no allergy for blood, somebody who's committing crimes every day and just terrorizing the country into submission. So you don't have to doubt his intentions when he declared many times that Ukraine must be divided between other countries like Russia, Hungary, Poland, Slovakia. So there's basically to disappear. And also Ukrainian nation doesn't exist. It has to be dissolved into Russia. And they have been kidnapping Ukrainian kids and re-educating them in Russia. That's part of the plan. So as for the global strategic goal, again, I don't have to invent things. I simply have to follow Putin's goals that have been declared. So that's the NATO must go to 1997 borders. He had been saying that. That was part of Russian ultimatum in 2021, and it repeated basically the points of Putin's speech in 2007 at Munich Security Conference. But the ultimatum in 2021 in December was very clear: NATO must be pushed back, which is I think includes Romania also. All countries that join Romania. So why does he want NATO to go back? You can guess. But also, if you listen to Putin's propaganda, they're talking about just taking back what was ours, and that includes Baltic nations and extending Russian influence in the territory of the former Soviet Empire. Okay, do we want him do we want to take these words at the face value? Not whether we want, we must. Because again, it's Putin's plans to conduct the war and push in many directions, whether it's Ukraine or Syria, and his support for dictators around the globe, it's a fact. So his plans are not limited by Ukraine. It's the global war against free world, and I think his vision of the future is very simple. He is conducting crusade like a World War IV against the free world to take revenge for the World War III, which was in his mind was Cold War that Soviet Union lost. So he is trying to regain the old glory of Soviet Russian Empire, and also conducting ideological war against free world, because he believes that all these, agreements, treaties, it's just a piece of paper that has no value, and the world should be run by big guys.
Do you keep in touch with ordinary Russian people from Russia? What do they think about it? What are they're supporting? They're getting tired of the situation.
Look, this is I have a couple of friends and relatives left there. I don't pretend that I have the like a Polaroid picture of the minds of Russians, but it's very, very clear from everything you can read is that people are just have to survive. So I don't think that you have majority of population supporting the war, bloodthirsty. I always thought it's probably about 1/3 of the country. Still, it's a huge number. Yeah. But those who are in opposition, I think those who oppose the war on moral grounds, I don't think that number ever exceeded 15%. And now it's much less. And you had majority basically moving with the flow. The war sounds awful, but war was beneficial for many Russians. It brought, not prosperity, but some more money, because war economy at first couple of years now just generated more movement. So the system was too rigid, and Putin basically used the war to make it more dynamic. It sounds awful, but it's when the system is too stuck. So the war just creates movement, like a social elevators. And he just he created purpose, and they were just basically this is dramatic improvements on Russian industry, because there was huge investment, the new production. So. In many families, they were quite happy with their husbands or brothers just to move to the front line. Even if they kill, they're being paid, handsomely. Yeah, it sounds awful, but it's a very different mindset. And overall, there were until now there were very few reasons for majority to oppose it. Again, I'm not talking about moral grounds. Big cities, Moscow, St. Petersburg, felt almost no hit, because Putin tried to avoid mobilization from the cities. So so you don't see body bags coming from the front line. The recruits came either from jails and also from depressed regions or national republics, whether it's Chelyabinsk, Kurgan in Russia, in the southern part of Russia, or Buryatia, like national republics. So this is Tuva, that's in the eastern Siberian part. So I think today majority basically lives in this reality where they have nowhere to go. I think the big moment was missed in 2022 to offer chance for Russians who were uncomfortable with this development, that were opposing the war and wanted to go elsewhere, to help them to resettle. More than 1 million, some say up to 3 million Russians left in 2022, escaping, just to Kazakhstan, Armenia, Georgia, Uzbekistan, because they have no visas to go to Europe, and just look for the countries where they can settle. You could see this dramatic positive impact for these countries, it's for their GDP and for living standards, because those were not poor people, not refugees, just from Syria. So those people that had some means and wanted to find a place. I suggested, alongside with Michael Khodorkovsky, that these people would be offered the opportunity to relocate, as long as they're willing to signed the document that includes following provisions like war is criminal, regime legitimate, Crimea is Ukraine. Basically just, denouncing Putin regime and cutting the opportunity to go back. But having a chance to go through the process and just to have the residence permit and just to open a bank account, nothing has been done. Basically, these people have been just pushed back. Now, I understand that nobody wants to deal with the Russians, and I understand the Ukrainians' response, no with Russians. The problem is most of these people now working in Putin's war industry, because we're talking about computer experts, engineers, financiers. Yeah, it's horrible what they're doing, but did you offer them a chance? Yeah, it's like, I told my American friends, if you had a chance in 1942 to offer visas for German scientists, of course we would have done that. I said, what's the difference now? It's because the borders are open. There's anybody who signs the declaration, public declaration, could go to Yerevan or Tashkent to just because the borders are open, and to enter the respective embassy or France or Poland, and to apply. So we had a great chance of building what I called, half joking, Russian Taiwan, a quasi-state with millions of Russians, millions that didn't want to be part of Putin's war machine, and that could be a game changer. Because these people it's basically a double edge. One is this: they will be taken away from Russian economy, but they could be down something on the other side. Because again, this is not just refugees coming from God knows where. Those are people. Most of them just they will not apply for social security. So there's a special social subsidies. They will bring business. They will bring knowledge. They will bring their resources. As of today, it's the all European sanctions. They are aiming mostly at people, Russians, who are escaped. It's quite ironic that even myself, I'm a Croatian citizen for more than 10 years, so I have a European passport. But today, some of the restrictive European law, sanctions packages, they aim at your place of birth. So that's why even if you have a second citizenship, and I travel on my Croatian passport, Russian passport expired ages ago, and if your viewers don't know, I'm the indicted terrorist in Russia, as many of my colleagues. So this I have standing warrant for my arrest. But what actually prevents me from from having trouble is that in my passport, my place of birth is Azerbaijan. So computer doesn't recognize me as a Russian. Yeah, but it just shows that there was no plan, there was no strategy. And you can't conduct the war without a strategy.
Speaking about opposing Putin, there were not so many Russian athletes that spoke publicly. How do you assess this? How do you think about why there are not so many Russians or Belarusian athletes that are talking against?
Look, I'm surprised that there were some, because look, the athletes they want to succeed, they want to keep their conditions for training. So and it's an act of bravery, and being a great athlete doesn't mean that you are brave enough to cut your ties with the country. Not supporting Putin means you have to get out, and so I'm very cautious in criticizing others. So. Not supporting is one story. Just not criticizing is one story. Supporting is another one. So I think those who weren't publicly supporting Putin, that's a story. But it's you're talking about Russian athletes there, but what about now the most popular player of NHL, hockey league, Ovechkin? He's openly supporting Putin, and he's a big hero in America. So nobody cares, and he has no risk. Okay, he says, "Oh, my family is in Russia." Okay, you're mega rich. Take the family away. So there's no. You always look in the mirror when you make criticism. So has the Western world, created conditions unbearable for people like for great athletes like Ovechkin to actually make a choice? No, nobody cares. He's a big, he's a big hero. He's set up the record, beating Wayne Gretzky's record, and everybody is happy that he's there, and nobody cares that he again, it's not condemning the war is one story. Supporting is another one. He's supporting it.
Speaking about the USA, how do you assess the Donald Trump effort to make peace between Russia? Do you think he can make a peace between them and to be, I don't know, fair to Ukrainian people?
No, he cannot make a peace. I mean, just let's not waste time. Whatever Trump says, you have to divide by 10 or by 100. So it's peace is a result of a negotiation that could help belligerents to meet in the middle. Russia has no interest of ending the war. And by the way, just 1 hour ago, Peskov said it, or 2 hours ago. So there's even no ceasefire, because peace means Putin has to rewind economy, propaganda, everything. Russia under Putin will continue war as long as it can. There's no way Putin can stop it, because this is the engine of his regime. So everything in Russia, from the top of the government to the kindergarten, it's related to war.
Let's talk about chess right now. Let's put the politics aside. The 10th Grand Chess Classic is taking place here at Bucharest. Why is this competition so important, and what does it mean to be here?
Look, I am part of the organization. I'm very proud we did something that became a system, and I feel that the Grand Chess Tour is the last stand of the chess tradition. We are doing our utmost to preserve the classical heritage of the game, and thanks to the Grand Chess Tour, and we have a system of the events that is a kind of a solid factor in the world at a time of many changes. The game evolves. There's more rapid chess, 960, the official chess, but very important we keep this element of the game, the classical chess, and we already seeing the generational change. So the younger players coming in. So it's a great tradition, and I'm very proud to be part of that.
Which player do you, like his playing style here?
It's the good thing about Grand Chess Tour is it always offers you an opportunity to enjoy the game, because there's a lot of fight. So this every tournament that we organize proves that the complaints about the future of classical chess, they're just overrated.
Gukesh Domaraju, I hope I'm mispronouncing his name, has beating your 4-decade record. How do you think about that? How do you like his playing style?
Look, he's a very good player. So there's a slight difference is that he has the title at the time where we know who is the strongest player, and that's not yet him. It's Magnus Carlsen. So, but he's very solid and great tenacity. So nobody wins the title, even without Magnus playing. So by accident. So let's see how far he can go. I mean, he's yet to prove that he is a dominant player.
In the last year, chess has a significant change, given the rise of artificial intelligence and powerful engines. How do you think this will change the way players play, the way players train?
It has changed already. So it's not about last year. So the game has changed a long time ago. You could look at the style of play of the players and the way they prepare, because machines just it's a dominant force, and they influenced the opening preparation quite significantly.
What do you think that separates a very good player from a good player? What are the most important qualities?
Look, there's no one single answer. So obviously you have chess components. That's the best players. They are more comfortable in assessing different kind of positions. So they're more universal. But there are also psychological characteristics. So I think the ability to make decisions throughout the game, and just to control your emotions, and to be very energetic. So it's just feeling the flow of the game.
Do you watch any other sports in particular, or any athlete that you inspire
yes,
from?
look, less than I used to. So I always watch the Soccer World Cup since 1970. I guess I'll be watching another 2026. As for other events, yeah, I watch them occasionally, but not now. It's just the world is too full of other events. So just to concentrate on sport.